What's up? This is part 2 of the Mazda CX-9 full build.
Right, so now that the subwoofers are installed, the next big portion is the wiring and head unit install and amplifier install. I got a little bit of a mess here of wires, but getting started, I'm gonna have all of my power wires run up the left side of the car, all my speaker wires, RCAs, and small wires will run up the right side of the car. So getting started here, I'm just pulling the dash apart and getting the head unit out. All right, so now that I got the head unit out, I need to test the connector right here. Looks very similar. Fingers crossed. It looks good to me. Happy with that. Saves a lot of time. And then I'm gonna check the wiring schematic online, and I just wanna make sure that none of these wires I need, hopefully they're all just amplifier and speaker wires here. If not, I'll tap into these and make use of whatever wires that I do need. So I wanna show you guys what I've been working on. So I got the speaker wires all in one cover, and then all the wires are inside there with the heat shrink. And then I also wired up here. This will connect to the factory harness. This will connect to the new head unit. I'm not using any of the speaker cables because I'm running low level RCA outputs. So I had to tidy up all the speaker wires. And then I have my remote out, my reverse in, and my parking brake wires that I'll run in the car later. I'm working on a RCA cable for the backup camera. And I'm working on the aux cord for the steering wheel controls. I'm also gonna need to make a 6-volt regulator for the camera. So I got my aux cord here, and I have the 3 wires stripped out, and I'm gonna solder in these other 3. Definitely hard working with the little wires inside of aux, but I tested the continuity, and we got black is the middle, gray is the base pin, and red is the tip section. Here's our RCA cable. Got 2 leads soldered in, some more extra wire. So here's the voltage regulator for the camera. Got blue as input, red as output, black as ground. I pulled the radio out, got the front fascia of the screen, and I pulled the mounting brackets off the back of it. They actually mount perfectly up to the new head unit, so once I get into the shop and get a 3D printer, I'll be able to 3D print a new face. So here's an update. I got the head unit right here, plugged in the harness and plugged it into the factory harness just to give it a little test here. Ignition power. And we got power. Well, I almost went bald pulling my hair out. Figuring out this, I took the aux cord, put some connectors on it, and finally the steering wheel control works. So I'm working on the reverse camera, and here's the harness that goes directly to the camera. And I probed these wires and used a full car length thing on the multimeter. I was able to find the wires up here in the kick area, and that will make it much easier for me to find those up in the dash so that I can get the video for the rear camera onto the new head unit. So now that I found the wires down there, I'm gonna work up here at the dash. So you can see here, for continuity, some multimeters have like a continuity sound. This one doesn't. It's very simple. So you have a 1. When I make continuity, I get a reading. So that means this harness right here is all the colors that I need, which means this will allow me to get camera footage up here. All right, so I jerry-rigged the absolute crap out of this thing, but I took my voltage regulator, grounded it on the back, just stuck it in there. Blue input, I put my trigger wire for the reverse in 12 volts just so it'd trigger it. Then I put the input for the voltage regulator into the 12 volt, and then my output went into the white wire, and then my RCA right here that goes in the red and black go into video positive and negative, and that got the video to work. So there we go. So the last thing that I needed after I got the head unit hooked up and the video hooked up was a trigger for the reverse. This ended up being a lot more of a pain than it should have been, but here's the trigger wire that comes off the head unit harness. And I went to the body control module, and I was able to find a wire that when I put the car in reverse, I get 12 volts, and when I put it anywhere else, I get 0. All right, so I just wanted to give a little update. So I got everything hooked up. I got my aux cord that goes to my steering wheel for the steering wheel controls. RCAs go for the video. I just hooked up the mic. So the mic runs up back here and comes around here. Nice, aimed right at the face. And then I have my RCAs that are gonna run to my head unit back there. And then all of my power, reverse trigger, and remote wire. And I got everything nicely bundled up. And that's pretty much it for the head unit. All right, so next I got my two 4-channel RCAs, my power and ground, so I get the voltage of my batteries on the voltmeter for the base. And then I have my speaker wires, and I'm gonna run that all through the door jamb next to that main wiring harness. Here's those, and then I'll run it back here to the amplifier and start hooking things up. And then I'll start working on the power and ground as well. All right, so I got all my speaker and power for the bass control and remote wires run through the door jamb all the way to back to the amp. I got everything hooked up and nicely tidied up in there. I pulled channel 1 through the top full range dash location. I'm gonna feed channel 2 and 4 over to the driver's side through underneath here. And then I'll start working on the door jambs, getting the wire through here.
So I just want to explain the method that I'm using to get the speaker wire into the door. So I pull the wiring harness out of the car frame, and I'm slowly prying it out with the tool. And then I'm going to drill holes in an open slot within the wiring harness, and that diameter will slide my wire through. And that way I can perfectly integrate the new wire that I'm using into the old wiring harness. And it's not exposed to weather and all other elements.
Just wanted to show a little bit of the remote wire working. So I put this guy in, get the AC, turns on my bass control, I get my voltage at the batteries, 12.3, and the amp turns on back there, and this guy has a switch on it so I can actually turn off the sub amp by itself and turn it back on. Just wanted to give a little update here. This looks like some sort of like spider monkey of wires. Not really sure. I should really get some distribution blocks, but I'll make those at some point in the future. Got the fuse running to the amp. I got all my channels, so I put 1 ring around for the first channel, 2 for the second channel, 3, and so on. I got all the RCAs hooked up. This one goes up to the bass control. This is the sub out, or the output line. So that goes up to the bass control, comes back, and then that goes to the sub amplifier. I got the remote wire here, power, ground, everything's fused and wired in. I'll tidy up some of the wires and keep it working.